This Fleet Equipment Unscripted interview is presented by Hendrickson, a leading manufacturer of heavy-duty suspension systems and components to the global commercial transportation industry. Visit hendrickson-intl.com to learn more.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Morgan, Content Director for Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. Today, we're talking with Anand Rao, Chief Technology Officer for CalAmp. Anand, thanks so much for taking the time to connect here.
Of course. Thank you, Jason. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we're going to dive into a lot of different topics here, really technology focused. The first, and something that I think that everybody is talking about right now, and it's impacting basically the world. It's been impacting trucking for sure, but the world as well. And that is in terms of the supply chain and trying to, make some lemonade out of the supply chain lemons we have going on now. Can you help give us an idea of maybe some common ways that fleets can help use the data that they have to help smooth any wrinkles on the supply chain logistics on their side?
Yeah, certainly, Jason. I think that's a broad question, but let me start by saying that if you think about logistics in general, right, there are multiple factors. And as a result, multiple data points that impact the movement of assets from one location to the other. Let's look at it from vehicle availability, right? Things like vehicle maintenance data, sensor data that is derived from trucks, as well as from trailers that are being pulled by these trucks, that provide information about vehicle roadworthiness, as well as exact GPS coordinates of the vehicle, etc. Right? You then think about the driver and or slash the operator availability, right? There's the whole concept of driver shortages right now with the pandemic challenges that are out there. Unskilled drivers versus skilled drivers, environmental conditions, route-related data points, right? Like the weather, fuel availability, the cost of fuel, road conditions, port congestion, right? And then finally, the actual assets itself, the cargo, right? The cargo that needs to be transported, environmental restrictions that might impact the asset, right? For example, temperature, shock, vibration. If you put all of this data into this one giant bucket and look at the systems that are needed to provide the most optimal and efficient way to transport the asset from point A to point B, that gets a pretty complex solution, problem to solve, right? And I think platforms like CalAmp's Telematics Cloud, there are other vendors out there that bring all of these data points together in a single environment so that various knobs can be tweaked by transportation and logistics companies to smooth out the wrinkles and the roadblocks that you just talked about, right? No pun intended, the roadblocks. But you get the point, right? So think about the number of variables. And if you have these platforms, the telematics platforms that can bring all of these data points into a single platform, then you can provide these knobs that I was indicating that allows these fleet managers, these supply chain folks to actually figure out how do we get these assets from one location to the other.
Right. Well, and two things that you said there that I think I really latched on to are, I mean, you rattle off a ton of data points, and for fleets, they know there's a lot of data coming. But to your point, one, I have to have a tool that shows me maybe where my biggest issues are. I can have a feeling about it, right? Like fleet managers have a feeling. They know what they're dealing with on a constant basis. They have a feeling, a directional feeling on how they can go, maybe what their biggest pain point is, but then understanding why that's the pain point. And to your point, the knobs and the tweaking, I like that a lot of like, okay, well now I can really see why that's happening and then have some action items to go fix that, right?
That's exactly right, Jason. I think the thing that you're going to have to look at is a lot of these folks, they all have that feeling, and the feeling is derived from data that's coming from various sources, right? They read in the morning that there has been a major accident on a freeway. Now they have that data point that says, okay, my trucks coming down the 95 freeway are all going to be delayed.
Right.
They read another data point somewhere else that says that there's a snowstorm in another location, right? If all of these data points can be brought to bear from a single source and then allow them to sort of tweak their whatever variables that are under their control to best optimize the movement of the data, I think that's the best solution that anyone can bring to bear, right? And I think there are platforms that are out there that are coming out there. CalAmp's obviously being one of them. We have a telematics platform that is specifically targeted towards the transportation and logistics vertical and the supply chains, right? And these are the kinds of platforms that are out there, and ultimately applications, all driven through data that drives the ultimate decision making, that allows these fleet managers, supply chain folks to track and quickly and efficiently move their assets from one location to the other.
Right, for sure. And I like your note about bringing it all under one platform, and then from the fleet's understanding of knowing like, okay, well, I don't have to. It's all available, and I can kind of focus on one and get tweak that little knob, and then when I need to go focus somewhere else, I can do that. One of the big necessities of being able to do this, though, is data availability. And there's plenty of data coming off trucks, but we've talked a lot about the 3G sunset, which is, I mean, it's already too late in some regards. And then some fleets probably have already seen, if they haven't upgraded, probably have seen some loss of service and need to upgrade the trucks. But from your view, where do you see the industry at with the 3G sunset? Do you see a lot of people moving over to 4G LTE and 5G? And then what are those noticeable differences once those devices get rolled into trucks?
I think that's a great question, Jason. Here's what I would say, right? 3G shutdown is already upon us, right? We know AT&T has already done their shutdown, or rather they're in the process of shutting down. They started back in I guess mid-February, 22, right? That's the number.
Yep.
And then we've got the Verizon shutdown coming at the end of the year. So a lot of these fleets that are out there, transportation and logistics companies that are out there, most of them have already made the transition. I believe most of them have made the transition. Now, there clearly are some customers who have not yet made the transition, but the 3G shutdown has somewhat of a ballooning effect because it touches on so many things, right? It has a tremendous impact across supply chains, fleet management, transportation and logistics. And because of this, it is absolutely crucial that we all stay ahead of it, right?
Right.
And my feeling is that there's a significant number of customers who have taken advantage of the fact that, okay, they understood that this is coming. They have all migrated up to 4G LTE, and many of them, with assets and gateways that are out there that are also 5G compatible, many of them have even migrated to 5G. Now, when I look at trucking companies that are taking advantage of 4G LTE devices that backhaul data from the vehicle and the associated trailers, the sensors, they see an immediate benefit, right, from the vastly improved throughput that the network provides. Fleet operators are able to see what I would call near real-time information from their assets, not just static locations or dots on a map, but a smooth movement of vehicles on maps, right? You can see instant crash notifications, instant sensor data. Like, for example, you have a trailer barreling down the freeway and they have a overheated wheel hub, for example. That information is almost instantly available to the fleet manager as well as to the driver, right? With these 53-foot trailers, the driver is not able to see that overheated wheel that could potentially catch fire, and that could be a disaster, right?
Right.
And even if the truck driver is not immediately notified, they would even be able to get a call from the fleet manager, who is immediately notified because the fleet manager is watching all of these vehicles on the road, right?
Right.
Now, I'd also say I would be remiss if I did not mention the widely available camera solutions in telematics space, right?
Yep.
The real-time video streaming capabilities combined with AI-enabled detection of road hazards, tailgating, road signs, distracted driving, all of these are now standard fare with these edge devices and gateways, and primarily because of the significantly improved cellular throughput and bandwidth available with 4G LTE. Right.
Yep.
So my feeling, Jason, is that with the migration of all of these edge gateways, telematics devices from these fleets that are out there to 4G, customers have already started taking advantage of all of the available technology, primarily because of the vastly improved throughput and bandwidth that's available.
Right. Right. Well, and yeah, I mean, something I hadn't thought of before too, and fleet managers have known it well for a while, is kind of the gulf between what we experience with our phones and consumers and the platforms that they had to use on 3G. Yeah, you want to get off that as soon as you can because the experience is so much better. In that regard, what are some of the what you might consider? I mean, being a provider of these solutions, crunching a lot of data. I mean, there's the sky's the limit in this. What do you see as like the next level of truck data usage to streamline transportation? I mean, you threw out a number of very cool ideas in terms of weather and traffic congestion, and that just seems like such a cool ability to do. What are some examples of being able to put this to work that you're excited about?
Here's what I would say right now. If you look at the sort of the maturity curve of all of these cellular technologies, right? 3G is on its way out. 4G is nearing maturity and frankly is at maturity. And then you've got the 5G networks now coming into play, right? Think about the leap from 3G all the way to 5G, right? Incredible increase in bandwidth and performance. Now, what is significantly advantageous there is the fact that autonomy is very much a reality with 5G availability, right? If you look at all of the autonomous vehicles that are right now not yet in full production, but we're getting there. I would not be surprised, Jason, that if within 5 to 10 years, you will be seeing autonomous vehicles on roads, driverless vehicles, right? The ability for these trucks, excuse me, to see each other and other objects in the environment, right? Road signs, traffic signals, pedestrians, and actually communicate with each other in real time using technologies like, for example, the whole CV2X world, the cellular vehicle to anything world, right? That is actually now real. Safety and efficiency will improve by leaps and bounds, given where we are headed with autonomy, the ability for these edge devices to actually communicate directly with each other. There's no backhauling all the way to the cloud and then back down, right? The ubiquity of CV2X is pretty much almost already there. OEMs are actually building CV2X technology into vehicles today. And my feeling is that autonomy is going to drive a significant part of this movement away from where we are today. But 5 to 10 years from now, we will see that across the board, pretty much everywhere.
Right. Well, and that's very interesting. I mean, even as an aside, my Fleet Equipment's associator had a chance to spend some time with Torque and what they're doing on the automated driving side too, and even just the massive amounts of data that they're sending back real time, to help drive the development of those systems is in and of itself a need for 5G. And then you think about extrapolating that even in I guess I feel weird saying a more simple use case because there's nothing simple about it, but the idea that once autonomous vehicles are out there, not only can they, I mean, talking to anything on the road is super interesting, but also being able to bring all that data as the virtual driver developer, right? And compile all that and get all those situations that are happening on the road so that they can build even smarter models and operations. I mean, it's going to be you bring up a very interesting use case for the seeing part, right? The seeing is in data transfer in a lot of ways, and knowing that another autonomous vehicle is near, and I mean, it just kind of opens your eyes to what's possible.
Not only other autonomous vehicles, Jason, but you should also think about pedestrians, right? You think about a pedestrian walking on the street with a cell phone. If that cell phone is CV2X enabled, it has that technology. Now the vehicle can actually see that pedestrian as well. See literally meaning using the cellular network between the two devices, the actual cell phone as well as the device inside of the vehicle. The two entities are actually seeing each other in real time. So the safety improves dramatically in those kinds of situations, right? So you are in a vastly superior mesh network kind of an environment where everything is seeing everything else in real time. That is pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, kind of a more advanced version of how we see traffic congestion now on our navigation apps. I mean, but this is a much more specific point of visibility. It's just like not a number of cell points in a certain area all driving at a certain speed. Now this is the vehicle noticing, to your point, there's a pedestrian there moving at X amount of speed, and because of the cellular connectivity. That's super interesting.
Exactly. Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. Anand, this was wonderful. I appreciate you taking the time to connect, and I'm sure I will be talking to you again very soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason.